So this whole time I'm sitting there, and shockingly, I didn't get diagnosed. I was able to pass this internet quiz, but I'm just sitting there like, did this guy actually go to medical school? What? Yeah, so I'm still working on different endings to that story, but that story has been pretty good to me.
Yeah.
I do love the fact that he just skipped over the whole suicidal part. I guess he thinks there's nothing he could do about that.
Right. Typically, see, once it left my mouth, I'm like, oh no, this might, you don't want to say that.
Yeah, there goes your 72 hours, man.
Exactly. And no, he just kind of nodded his head, didn't say a word.
So isn't there an old joke about the guy who says he feels suicidal and the doctor tells him he's got to pay up front?
The doctor I went to previous to him, her second youngest patient was my mother.
Okay.
I was by far the youngest person. So her annual physical was a one-size-fits-all, which included a rectal exam.
Uh-huh.
And when she left and this guy took over her practice, I go in for my annual physical, and I had not thought about it until that day. And he says, did your old doctor give you a rectal exam? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, you don't need to do that until you're 50. So we've got plenty of time for that.
She just did it because she liked it.
Apparently, I was getting that unnecessary exam every year. And she had small fingers, and I still couldn't sit down for a week. But he has big hands. So when I shook his hand.
Thank God for small favors.
Well, when he said I don't have to do that for a while, I said, what if I pay you X? He didn't find that funny.
Can I interview the rest of your doctors and shake hands with all of them just so that when I'm 49, I might be able to switch?
Yeah, well, I know if I'm still alive in 15 years, I'm going to have to go doctor shopping. That's kind of the... And I also said, I know I can use Google now. I'm just going to make a website, give them fake symptoms, and just make sure my website pops up on Google so that whatever I want them to prescribe me, medicinal marijuana, whatever it might be, well, it says so on this Google thing. So,
are you still doing stand-up and the podcasts, or has COVID sort of cooled off the stand-up?
It cooled it off for me for quite a while, but I am back to doing it once a week, open mics here locally. Luckily in Florida, things got reopened very quickly. Honestly, aside from wearing a mask, it's not a lot different. So, you go on stage, you're far apart from everyone, so you can go ahead, get your 5 minutes in. So I'm getting back to doing that. And no, if anything, someone made a joke. Maybe you should pick one, the podcast or the stand-up, and your podcast is a little funnier, I think. So.
But neither of them are making any money, so.
No. Yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah. What you should do is record the podcast, go up on stage, and just hit play.
That actually would be a funny bit just to see what people would react if someone just went up with their phone, put it up to the microphone, just played it for 5 minutes. That's my time. Thank you.
Write it down. And if it works, give us credit.
Well, I write things down all the time that I go back to. And unfortunately, I go through so many notebooks and I have them in so many different places. I have it at my desk at work, my couch downstairs, my car. So by the time I get back and look through them, sometimes I'm like, why did I write this?
What the hell does this mean?
I should have explained more. I drink too much to remember what I meant. The better thing are voice memos on your phone, especially when you don't remember leaving them. They're never good.
No. They don't make any sense, right?
A couple weeks ago, I left this would be a great ending to a movie. And I just had nonsense come out of my mouth for 2 minutes that made no sense and would not be a great end to a movie. But at the time, I seemed very happy with it.
I did have a friend who did open mics and was going to get into stand-up and thought the best idea was to write some keywords on their hand so that when they went up, that would keep them, at least on track. And so he gets up and his hands had gotten so sweaty that it just turned into just one big blue blob on his hand. He had no idea.
I don't go up there even with a notebook, which is dangerous for someone who's still relatively new in it. Mm-hmm. I mean, most people will bring a notebook or a cheat sheet of some kind. But yes, I've heard do not use your hand as a notepad. My personality, I felt like someone listening to you who talks about drinking a lot and stuff like that. Do you think they would expect you to walk up there with a notebook? nah, you're just going off the cuff. So I kind of took that advice as, if that's the persona I'm going for, let's try to be consistent as possible. If you get funny people together, even if one or two of the three are funny, they can carry a conversation, you know?
Exactly. I had a partner who was one of the funniest women I've ever met. Our whole shtick was we just tell stories, usually about our kids. And I was just telling about how my daughter, we went to visit my parents up in Maine. My dad was at the time a minister. My daughter, we were out cooking out in the back, and they had this itty-bitty little two-person gas grill because there are only two people, right? We were cooking in shifts because with the family coming up to visit, there were like 13 of us. My daughter, who was like 6 at the time, said, "Grampy, you should get a big-ass grill like Daddy has." and my mother looked at her like, "How are you letting your kid talk like that?" And I was like, "Mom, what she said was you need to get a big gas grill."
Kids cussing is hilarious, even more so when they don't know they get it.
Yes, exactly.
You have kids, right? You have a son?
Yeah, I have a son who is 8 and a daughter who's 11. My son one time used, I forget what word it was, but he cussed, but it was like so smooth and fluid. And I'm like, don't say that, but it wasn't like gratuitous, so I'm not going to yell at you. It fit in the conversation somehow. Usually kids, when they try to cuss, they're flagrant about it. They just throw it out there where it doesn't work. I'm like, that worked. And he was repeating something I had yelled at the TV the day before. So.
Oh, that hurts.
Well, I made the rule. I said, when I'm watching a Saints game or if I'm driving, you can't repeat anything I say. Those are the 2 times I'm not responsible for filtering myself or censoring myself. You just have to promise you won't repeat it. Yeah. I forgot to leave out when I'm watching Lightning games, so that's when I yelled it, and he thought he was good to go with it.
You know, what's funny about that as we're all parents, and we all say that, don't repeat what I say if blah, blah, blah. And then you go out and you yell cuss words at the TV or at a driver or something. Which of those things do you think the kid remembers? The rule or the cussing?
It's absolutely the funny thing Daddy screamed at the bus who cut him off. Yeah, that's right. That's absolutely it. Or remember when Brandon Coleman fumbled the ball in 2015 and you screamed some really bad words at the TV? I'm like, you couldn't remember what you did at school today. How do you remember that?
A little shameless self-promotion, man. What are you doing? Anything anybody can access and enjoy along with you?
Yeah, you can go and check out my podcast. It's the Jeff Macilino podcast, Macolino. I think pretty much anywhere you can find podcasts. I try to have fun guests on and try to be funny and sometimes learn some things. So
Jeff Macilino podcast. And are you going to be doing any stand-up someplace that people can come see in Florida?
Probably most Tuesdays at a place called Coconuts on St. Pete Beach. And they at least claim to be Florida's oldest comedy club. I haven't fact-checked that, but sounds good.
It does sound good.
Right.
Coconuts, St. Pete Beach, Jeff Macilino podcast. Check him out. And Jeff, thanks for spending some time with us here on The Approach Shot.
Texting enrolls you into recurring automated text messages. Message and data rates may apply.
Men, want to feel younger, stronger, leaner? You don't have to slow down after 40. Frank Thomas found the secret to staying in shape with the energy and drive of his 20s.
Man, you look like you could still hit it a mile.
I feel great, too.
What gives?
After 40, men slow down. It's harder to stay in shape.
Why?
Our free testosterone levels drop. It happened to me, and then I found Nugenix Total T.
New Nugenix Total T is our most powerful man-boosting formula ever because it boosts your free testosterone and your total testosterone. Nugenix Total T helps provide even more energy, performance, testosterone, and muscle-boosting ingredients for even better results. To get your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T, text GRIT to 321321. Samples are not available in stores.
Well, wait. When you can do something about it now?
I got to try Nugenix Total T.
Text GRIT to 321321 for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T. That's GRIT to 321321.
Once again, we have done it. We have brought you some stellar and luminary personalities.
And if you don't get enough DC Glen on the Geico commercials, then just tune this back in.
Yeah.
And you'll hear him talk about it.
There you go.
Awesome.
Sounds good to me.
What a terrific guy.
Historically speaking, today is, or the day that we do this, and it first appears online, this podcast, is the 18th of April. And I'm going to say something, and I want you to fill in the blanks, okay? It was the 18th of April in 75, and hardly a man is now alive who remembers that famous day and year.
The Midnight Ride of Paul Revere.
Yay! Ding, 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 ding. It's great. That's right. You still remember your East Coast roots.
I do. I do. He looked at me like there was no shot I was going to come up with that.
Because Californians are like, what?
Paul Revere. And the Raiders?
Yeah, that's right. In Boston, it's a holiday. It's called Patriots Day. Yeah, and that's why they have the Boston Marathon on this particular day.
I didn't put that together.
Yeah.
Very
More
nice.
useless
And
information.
Once again, for the second time in this particular podcast, you've made a lot of people yawn. Stick to the entertainment.
Because that was from a poem by Longfellow. And they say Longfellow is witty, but Greenleaf was wittier, which is an English major joke.
Ooh, I wonder how hard it would be to get another co-host. One who sticks to like golf and comedy. The History Channel presents John Ashton and his huge audience of 6.
But it's the smartest 6. I live with it. Come back next week and we'll talk more about golf.
In the meantime, say something about bagpipes, would you?
The same people invented golf and called it a game that invented bagpipes and called it music.
And life is a gift. Go open.
You've been listening to The Approach Shot with the Weekend Golf Guys. If you like this week's episode, be sure to subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you download your podcasts. And find us on the web at approachshot.net.